Okay. So, the topic we are talking about is inheritance, and part of inheritance we initially discussed. So, what is the core behavior or principle of inheritance? It is very simple. So, you need to get any parent objects or members methods you can inherit to child or derived class. It is all vice versa. You can say like some people will say parent child and then base and derived. So base is something which you are trying to inherit, and derived ones you are trying to derive it, means further enhancing it. And so part of it we have seen very simple objects how you can inherit. So now we will further make it. So maybe we can try to take the same example, so that will help. Or let me take. So now I'm just creating a base. I'm just giving name as base. That's it. So class base I'm creating. Previously we have given a student profile and something different, but to make you understand further, I'm just giving a name as class base. And so this is one variable created part of the base, and maybe I don't use it, but I'm just creating it. So now I'm say def. So this is one variable, one method, and I have defined couple of variables here. This is very simple classic class we have created. So now I'm trying to create one more class. I'll say derive one. Okay. So but this when I'm deriving, so it will have its own content, like it will have its own member methods and variables, and also I want to inherit information from the base. So this is nothing, base is your parent. Now here, maybe if you want to define your own variables, so this will be specific to the derive only, and this is specific to base only. Now I'm defining one more variable, def. I'll say one more. I'm saying self dot c equal to 300. So have created, this is our base class, and one variable is there, and then one method is there. Within method we have instance variable a equal to 100, b equal to 100. So I have I have created another class, and we are deriving base here. And now here I am trying to say self dot c equal to 300. So we have AB here in the base parent one, and C we have created only in this particular one. Now when I am trying to print, right? So you can see I'm able to see all the member variables, even methods, part of derive and also base. Now, because currently we are in derive only. So when I say self dot, you can see A, B and everything. So now I'm saying A, print A. So this is your classic base. We have AB. In derive we have C, and since in derive I can get content of both base and then derive, so I'm trying to print here. Now I'm creating one object. In case if you want to create an object for base, even you can still continue. Go ahead, you can continue to do, and then you can only work with this method. But when you create object for the derived, okay, since it is already inherited your base functionalities into derive, so you can work on both at a time together. So now obj1 dot, now and see, even I can get everything, A, B, everything. So, but right now I am planning to print only this information, which one print all. Okay. So now definitely when I see coding wise, it is all correct. Okay. But runtime, you will get errors. Okay. What errors you will get? Now you can see derive one object has no attribute A. Of course it has. Okay. But what it is saying, it doesn't have any value. Why? We have created a classes and then functionality, everything we are able to use it, but the value assignment will happen only when you call this method. Of course, we have everything, but value assignment will happen only when you call this one. So before print all, I need to ensure that obj1 dot, because right now in the method I have mentioned, not outside. So that's why I need to call obj1 dot. Since this is already came here, so I need to call that base method 1. So when I call base method 1, okay, still you will get error. Okay, the reason is now derive an no attribute C. So I call this one. So A and B values are there. Now that's why you can see 100 and 200 got printed, and then it's got failed where object has no attribute C. Why? Because so this method we have not implemented. Means not invoked. So now before that I am also calling derive method 2. So now you'll get everything. So have a quick look at. So this is your base. Okay. And then this is your base method. We have created a derived one. And we have, of course, we have created something extra here, A, B here and C here. But I'm trying to use them. So all fine. Only thing is the value assignment will happen only when you call that method. This is not related to inheritance. It is our core Python behavior. So when you call the method, then only this will get fed. So that's why I had to call this one. So then we are good here. So if you want to create one more class and then derive from the base, even you can do. Means right now derive one, I'm deriving from the base. And if you want to create one more class and then again derive from the base also you can do. And even if you want to derive from, maybe you can create one more derive too. And then derive from the derive one means example like this. Okay, I'll just say pass. Okay, if you want to can do something, but this is also possible. Means from here to here and then here to here. And if you want to add anything, you can do it. So now in this case, I need to do everything in the. So we don't have anything extra. Okay, but now you can see object one, I am creating on derive two. And I'm calling everything from derive two only. Everything you already got into this particular class. And if you want to add some additional functionality behavior, you can go ahead and then add here. So from here to here, and then here to here, and then now if you want to add some extra functions, then you can call them here. That's it. Because simple, the way how we have called here. So here also you can add and then call it. So this is possible. Okay, so now here what is happening? Everything is perfectly working fine. You have methods and then you are calling the method and then you are implementing it. Okay, even if you want to call this, currently we are calling the method 1 and also calling method 2. It's all working fine, right? It is also possible. So next classes will get more clarity. What I mean to say is, so here I am calling this method and also this method. So maybe you may have some doubt. That's why should I call this? See if I, because this is how, this is finally we are trying to make, right? So why can't we have all these values assigned? Say here I can also say we have this method in which we have the method, right? Say for example, mm, we already have a base method here, base dot. So what I am trying to do, previously I was calling this method outside. If you see here, I kept it as it is. Base method 1 I called and derived method 2 called separately because we don't have, we have not mixed here. Okay, I called separately and then value assignment is done and printing. But in current scenario, what I am trying to do, the base method we have here, I have created one more method. I'm calling another method over here. Now let's see. See obj1 method 2. Okay, so base method one missing one requirement position argument. So whenever you call this way, okay, whenever you are trying to call them directly, it will expect this. Make a note of this one. So it will expect this because why it is expecting. So this base method is specific to one instance only, not a class level. Means to associate this information to one object reference or instance, so then it will expect this one. Very simple. You just try to go ahead and then add it. That's it, and then it will expect self. That you don't need to remember it. So now if you look at clearly, so now this I am trying to call into this method and then this going forward I will make use of this one. So calling this one time method 2 will be sufficient because internally it is calling the base one so that all the value assignment is clear. So it is up to you how do you want to use it. So there is no best or worst scenario here. Everything both are correct and depending on your requirement you can if you are trying to consolidate everything, you are expecting only one call, okay, should be enough to get all your functionalities done. You can go ahead and then do it. Otherwise, if you want to explicitly call, this is also fine. Both are 100% same. Okay, so now I'll take about any questions. Okay, so now this is fine. There is nothing wrong, and then this is how you develop. Okay, now sometimes, right? So now if you look at these variables, these are all fixed variables, 100, 200, okay, and everything. And in see, unless until always you can call a method, okay, unless until if you want to pass the values dynamically. But currently, no matter whatever variable, even if I create a different object also, object to also if I create, I'll get same result because you are fixing these values. Say for example, if I create another set of object reference and print, you'll get same result because we are fixing standard values, fixed values we are giving here. Means in other way static values. But in case you want to give a facility to have different values for the different variables, generally what we do, we use variables. So how do you use variables? Now here I can say, or even there are two scenarios. One is we can define variables, and also in this case, say for a moment, assume that you are always want 100, 200 only, fixed values only. For fixed values, you don't need to actually call these methods here, something like this. So we have a different approach. So these fixed values, you can specify them using the constructor. So whatever you are doing here, everything you can do with a constructor. Fixed values always you can give through constructor. You don't need to constructor. What it does, when your object is created during the construction of your object itself, okay, value assignment will be done so that you can avoid this calling the method. So what I am doing right now, rather than giving this method, I am converting into constructor. So this constructor of base class. Okay, and then this is the constructor of derived. So I had to remove because during the constructor itself, you will get the values here. And then, so now this is one scenario I'm trying to do. Now let's see. So obj1 dot, I am expecting print all. This is something I'm looking. Now when I look at, when I run it, you can see print all self dot a derive one object has no attribute a. Now this is a constructor we have, and this is a constructor we have, and then when I'm trying to print, so we know that all the constructor values will be instantiated directly from here. Obj1 equal to, so derive 1. So we called here. But when you look at right, underscore underscore init and self, okay, when I'm trying to call, I put the value self dot c equal 300. Okay, but still we are not getting. Means now if I comment this, I'm getting 300. So this constructor is invoked, but this is something still not yet came. So this values has been not yet enforced here. So to do that, what we need to do? So whatever constructor you have here, in this constructor, you can invoke. So what we have, the underscore underscore init of the base class, right? So we can say base of. So I'm calling this base constructor within the constructor of this one. And right now there are no values given here. I'm just saying, now let's see. Base missing one required positional argument. The same, whatever we got the error, same error we got right now. Now you can see constructor, because why this constructor has to given. So maybe in your case, you are planning to directly use them. Maybe if you are trying to derive this into different class, maybe you want to use them in a different way. So that's why it is make it open. So when you want to see here, I am not calling anything here explicitly here. The only thing is when you are defining this function, when you are designing this functionality, so you wanted this constructor also to be invoked along with this constructor. So that's why I call this constructor over here. So this is a expected behavior. Okay, because why intentionally it has been done? Because somebody may want to use in different way. Because when you are developing a programming language, it should cover all these scenarios. That's why. So you can, if you want, you can invoke it right now, right away directly. So that way we don't have to call, because in the scenario, since always I want to use 100, 200, 300 only, so I'm directly calling through constructor. Okay. So now you are not happy. Every time it is taking 100, 200 and 300 only. So now during the object initialization itself, you want to supply. Let's say now I want to supply 1, 2, 3. So, but right now it is all fixed, right? So we already know whenever you want to supply arguments or take the values, okay, you can give them through constructor. Okay, so in this constructor, I am planning to give, okay, P1, P2, and then here I am planning to give P1, P2, like P3 additionally. Okay, now, but when you are calling base in it, right? Okay, now this also expect, because you are giving arguments, but when you are calling it, so it will expect the values, right? So that's why one thing you always notice, so this is your base, P1, P2, we are sufficient. But when you are deriving, when we are defining the method constructor of your derived one, so P3 is required for C, but also we need P1, P2 values. So that's why also when this constructor is getting invoked, so whenever you create object derive one, so this constructor is getting invoked. So whenever you are supplying arguments to constructor, we are expected to supply the values here. That is our previous concept. So you need to ensure that whatever your derived class, sorry, base class parameters or arguments are expected. So those values also you have to refer here and then put them over here. So P1, P2 is expected here. Okay, if you are not calling it here, fine. But since you are calling here, it also need P1, P2 values. That is a method behavior. So in the main constructor, derived constructor, I'm expecting three values, because one should go here, two should go here. So P1, P2, 3 I'm expecting here, and then trying to supply them P1, P2 to base and P3 to here, and then I'm able to print. So right now it will fail where object one missing three arguments, because constructor created for derive one. So if there are any parameters expected, arguments expected for the constructor, so those you have to give here itself. Okay, so have a look at very clearly code, and then I'll just take a pause. Okay. So now we are directly here, if you see, we are directly calling the base, okay, and then putting the init and then passing this argument. So this is all expected only, nothing to confuse, because we are calling this init here and then everything we need here that way. So to simplify this, we have a simple keyword which is something called super. Even this is there in Java everywhere also. So now what I am trying to do, same thing. I don't have anything here. So whenever you want to get the behavior, okay, see why this is a confusion. Say currently we are fine here. I can also, maybe there could be some scenario where class derive 2 of derive 1. So in this case, you are trying to develop something here. Okay, assume that you are doing something here. You are planning to develop one more method here. So in that case, one derive one is there, base is there. So now if you want to call anything here, again you have to say explicitly, okay, I want to call a method from the derive one. I want to call a method from the base one. So all that, if maybe luckily, unfortunately, we have only two. When you are working, you might end up with having deriving from 10 to 15 classes also. So in that case, what will have, you'll have a challenge, okay, explicitly how to put the class name and all that, it will become a big mess up. So that's why we have a simple behavior called super. What super does, without mentioning any class name here, whatever you are getting inherited. So currently we are in derive one. So what all you got derived, all that can be referred in a simple word keyword using super bracket. So when you say super, you are telling that whatever all got, not only one base, even maybe there could have been other classes also, whatever you all got derived to this particular class. So whatever, wherever, whatever is present, so I want to directly use a keyword super and then directly call it here. So when you say super dot, I'm just saying you will get everything, whatever is part of this got inherited to this derive, irrespective of which class it is. So that it will make your life easy to directly call them rather than specifying to that particular class. If you want to specify explicitly one particular class name, still you can go ahead and then do. But right now, I just want to do as a whole by simply keeping super. The only one change you will notice that whenever you use a super, so it will not expect self, because that itself understand the super keyword itself is understand that. So you are trying to create it for the reference. So that's why if you see now, you'll get a error. Init takes three positional arguments, but four were given. Means this init will not expect self. Only change here. Now you can see base.init self p1, p2, but when you say super, we don't need to give that. It will work. So now if you want, let's say 786, and if you want to use another object reference, so this is the super keyword. So super keyword will refer all the inherited behavior of your base classes. Even if there are more than 1, 2, 3 also, you can refer them directly there. So even if you are planning to, let's say right now we have something here, and then define one more class and then use it. Maybe at this moment I don't recommend to practice more than one or two. It will confuse you. Once you get hands-on comfort, then you can start doing it. So try to understand only behavioral part of this all these keywords right now. So what is the change? Rather than you explicitly calling base, you can simply say super. So this will help you. Okay, even if there are more than one or two constructors also, it will automatically get inherited. So even there will be some when you are doing multiple like deriving classes. So what kind of conflicts you have, that also we can discuss later. But right now, this is your super keyword. Okay. So now, now you can see we are calling, okay, method one, okay, is there. In the method one, we are assigning some values. And since we are not supplying any argument, so if I don't keep this one, okay, and then try to print it, you'll get a fail because in the method one you are calling a, but a value assignment will done only when you call this method. So where it is in the method here. So I'm just simply saying super means it is all going to the previous one. Okay, and then method one, you're done. And again, argument, if you want to create parameters for this method and supply arguments later, so regular behavior you can follow. It is all very simple. Okay, so what is a new keyword? It is something super. Okay, now I am defining one more simple class. Just have a look at. Okay. So now again the same class. So here I have created some class variables. So not instance variables, and then um, for this variable 100 and for this variable I have given 200, and then I'm trying to print. So now I printed one variable and then I'll try to print one more variable. Okay. So now if you see, both are variables only. It is 100 and 200. So now a dot cls variable. Okay, we are able to print. Previously also we have seen 100. But when I call the second variable, I'm not able to print it. Now it says that object A has no attribute PLSC variable, but exactly it is there. Means, okay, this is a additional behavior in the inheritance. So whenever you define any variable starting with double underscore, then these variables will become a private to this particular class only. So these members of anything which you define with underscore underscore and then define in that design in that particular class, so they will be restricted to get inherited to the next class. So currently there is a behavior, but okay, now similarly let's take define. So here also I am trying to. Anyway, this we have already seen. I'm just commenting for a moment. So now here I'll try to call a dot. Now you see it is not even coming over here. So in this method, I am trying to call this method over here. And when I try to run, A has no attribute B underscore method one. So from this, what is clear evident that anything in your base class, if you define starting with underscore underscore, so they will be acting like a private only to this particular class. Say now, you can create a object, okay, but when you call it, you will get a failure. So now I'm trying to create an object to 2. So that is specific to A only. Obj2 dot. Now you can see CLS variable 1. Obj2 I am creating only to particular A. Okay. Or even when I try to call. So anything now here what I am trying to do. Def. I'm just trying to show some combinations only. Don't worry. So A dot my METH is missing one self argument here, where, sorry, METH, my METH. Okay. So currently, what is what when you say here, what is the line 28? It is saying that something is missing here, one position argument or something missing here. Now, if you look at underscore underscore method one, okay, self, and then you are trying to have created one different object here, like a different one here, and then trying to put self and then a dot underscore underscore METH1, and then self I am creating it. Now let's say two ways you can see here. Even if I give and or let's say for example, even if I remove this and then give here. So when there is a private variable or a private memory variable, so there is a different way to handle it. So what I am trying to explain here is, in any class, if you are trying to define anything with underscore underscore, then it will be protected by using by something else. So how to use it? A different story. Okay, we'll discuss tomorrow. But what is this concept actually is, it is something called data hiding. Maybe in object oriented programming. So one of the very key behavior is that data hiding and data protection. So when you are creating a class and during the class creation, and you want to define two type of variables or methods. Say some variables you want to get inherited, and then people can go and then take it forward and take it further and then implement or enhance their programming. That is one thing. And then some other information you want to use restrictedly. So that information part of, when I say information, it could be method or even member or even some variables, or it could be anything. And those variables you can try to restrict to that particular class only. So that is something called encapsulation, data encapsulation. Means it will prevent the data sharing, and then even sometimes people maybe when in the derived class you are trying to define something, and then so that you want to protect not to change by other classes. Say that is maybe you are given some variable name, okay, and then that variable you want to protect by somebody to not to change by anything. So you want to make it as a private. So public by default, everything whatever you have created in object oriented programming in Python is treated as a public only. And then if you say anything with underscore underscore, so that will be considered as private. And this concept is called data encapsulation. So data encapsulation, see, we have seen inheritance, objects, classes, and inheritance we have been discussing for the long time. And then this data hiding behavior, data protection behavior is something called data encapsulation of object oriented programming. And there are maybe currently, if you go to Java, these are the different things you'll have: private, public, and protected. So Java related, these two you'll have. But here in Python, so we'll have two behaviors. One is a private and then public. And everything is a public if you define directly. By giving underscore underscore, it will become like a private. But how do we handle private and all that? Maybe the concept is something need more maturity. We can explain it. But for now, at least what you can understand is that this concept is something called data access restrictions or your object access restrictions. So how do we handle these restrictions in Java world? Always everything when you define, we will use a keyword called private, public, or a protected. Every time in Java, we will keep it. But in Python, everything, whatever you define a variable is public. And anything you define with underscore underscore, that will be considered as a private. And the private members, that could be variable or a method, will be restricted to be called by other objects here. But how we can use it? We can still use it within that particular class only. And even how that will help and all that, maybe I'll take a good example and explain tomorrow. But overall, this concept is called data encapsulation. Okay. So since the topic came, I have discussed here because the data encapsulation is a different topic here by just keeping underscore underscore. So in inheritance itself, because once we finish inheritance, we'll go to that topic encapsulation. Okay. So maybe for now, you can just remember this piece. That's it. Okay. So now in continuation with your inheritance, right? So there are two level because one level of multiple inheritance, let's say class A. So I have created one class and then class B I am creating. So now I am creating one more class C. So far we are trying to inherit from the single. But in case if you want to inherit from more than one class is also possible. Or you can maybe let's try to print. Now when I say C dot, I can say class A, class B, and class C anyway here itself. Let's say now. Now in this concept is a multi inheritance, multiple inheritance. So whenever you create a class and try to inherit from multiple classes, and this concept is called multiple inheritance. So now what I am doing here, A is one class and then B is one class. So far we have been inheriting only one class only, but right now I'm inheriting A and then B together. So A has behavior 100, like class A, and then B has class B. And if you define something else, also you can define here. So this is also possible. So A, B multi, even if you have 2, 3, even few more also you can define it. Okay, so this is one inheritance, and also this one we already noticed. Okay, class A and class B I want to derive from A, and then class C I want to derive from B. So in this case, what happens? First, let's use. So directly by using this directly, I'm able to get say C dot. Okay, directly whatever we have. So I'm directly using over here. So only every time all the methods will come to C and then C dot you can use. Only exception is when there are constructors. If you have a constructor here, if you have a constructor here, and C also will have a constructor with the same name. So in only that scenario, you have to say A dot constructor or B dot constructor. That is nothing but underscore underscore init, because all the names of the classes of the constructor are same, underscore underscore init only. So in that case only, when you are calling a constructor, let's say when you create a constructor here, in case if you have a constructor, if you want to call the constructor A, you have to say A dot, okay, and then you have to say constructor. Otherwise, you can directly use with C dot only, because all will get inherited to C and then everything will work. So A dot init and B dot init, all that you can see. Okay, so this is multiple inheritance. Okay, so I'll stop it for today. Tomorrow we can discuss about how that encapsulation works, like a private, protected, and then we have a couple of other concepts, all that we can discuss tomorrow. So it is very simple. Only thing is you just need to practice. The topic is in inheritance only, like you can keep play around with whatever examples you have. Okay, and then you can practice.